Hello again, fellow preppers. We are making Goldenrod Tincture today. This is an excellent do-it-yourself natural remedy for multiple things, but it's primarily used for kidney stones or gout, both of which my husband can be afflicted with on not a regular basis, but you can almost expect one of those two things to pop up on an annual basis. So you're going to take your goldenrod, your flowers, fresh or dried, it does not matter. I'll wash them off first. You can go ahead and just use the flowery and seed part of it, but every part of goldenrod that grows above the ground could hold some medicinal properties. So if you get some stems in there, it's not going to hurt you any. They will take up more space. So you can just go ahead and break off a little branch, very thin little branch, not taking up a lot of space, and it won't really mess up your ratio when you put the liquids in. I wouldn't just cram a whole big piece like this in there. But you can also put your fingers on the branch, just kind of shave them off with your fingernails or a butter knife, even a plastic butter knife with a serrated edge. And you just want to get up to the lip, or 3/4 of the way full, somewhere in that vicinity. Using a smaller jar would be great, but you can mix you a large amount at once. It's very shelf stable, and then you can transfer your tincture when it's all completed to a smaller jar. You don't want to keep opening it and exposing the contents to light or to moisture. But when you're making it, there's no need to go with a smaller jar unless that you're having a hard time finding enough goldenrod. We live in agricultural growing zone 6. So the end of July, beginning of August, pretty much through August, you will find lots of goldenrod around. Great places to look for it are any field or pasture with full sun. You can also see it a lot of times along the roadside, but the problem is picking it up when it's not in your own property, especially along the roadside, as it could have been chemically sprayed. Even some farmers use chemical sprays. We're all organic here. It took me a long time to get my husband to quit using some of the gardening products he's used forever and swore by, but we don't use any chemicals here. We did have a poison hemlock infestation recently by the creek after all the flooding we've had for 2 years, and he was afraid I would break down, and finally thought I might break down and finally use some, but it was too close to our water supply for Abby and him to think about chancing it after we found some in the plants. So you want to make sure that you're getting clean, natural, organic matter, whether you're using goldenrod or anything else. And most people don't see value in goldenrod. They associate it with hay fever, and ragweed typically causes that more than goldenrod. Goldenrod gets a bad rap because these nice, bright, glorious yellow flowers are much more visible than the mostly green and less distinct ragweed. So they grow together, and sometimes ragweed will even grow around the goldenrod. So both are to blame. So that being said, that does not mean that you might not have an allergic reaction to goldenrod. If you are prone to hay fever or any other types of allergies to things that are part of the aster family, then more than likely you could have allergic reaction to goldenrod. Typically, if you do, or you may need to be more of a severe allergic reaction, merely handling it, see, those came off nice and easy. Merely handling it can give you a dermatitis type rash on your skin. So you always want to test out a little bit on your skin, or a tinky tiny drop, anything that you're not sure that you've never had before. If you could have an allergic reaction to anything, whether it's natural or not, whether it's something that may or may not cause hay fever. There was one man who swore by a researcher that he really insisted that goldenrod was a primary cause of hay fever, and he planned a huge field of it and exposed people to it as a base group, and did a fairly scientific study, and he found that the majority of the people still had a reaction to it, even though there was no ragweed, and they were prone to seasonal allergies. So you need to be careful when you're using any natural substance in a remedy, or even in a craft when you're handling it or possibly inhaling any of it. I'm not a doctor or medical professional of any type. I'm just sharing some of our home remedies for instructional and informational value. So it's always a good idea to check with your family doctor before you embark on any natural remedy, perhaps even have some allergy testing done. If you're wanting to stockpile natural survival medicine for a long-term disaster or even a short-term disaster, in case you run out of prescription medication, it's good to plan way ahead talk to your doctor, learn as much as you can, then start making and buying what you need. So it takes a little while to get it in here. This is a pretty big bunch of goldenrod I collected during forest school activities with our youngest grandchildren this morning. And it didn't take very long to collect it or find it. They tend to grow in groups. They will thrive about anywhere. It was rocky, hard clay soil on a side horse pasture, so it didn't take any time to collect them. The stalks are a little hard to break. These are thin ones. You get a big, tall stalk, I would suggest you go ahead and take along your knife or a pair of scissors just to speed up the process. But it takes far more time to take them apart to get everything you need in your jar than it does to actually find them and pluck them. It took me a little while today because I lost the remote control to my blue heeler. We're doing training of when and when not to herd the horses, and I left the remote control to the new collar on there. And usually after one time of using the sound and the vibrate and then a very mild zap, all I have to do now is show her that I have it, whether she has the collar on or not. But I lost it in the middle of the pasture. So that made my wild crafting take a little bit longer than I anticipated this morning. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to call this 3/4 of the way full. It's not quite there. It takes a lot because it is little. So I went ahead and threw some stems in here just so we could get it made. The more flowers you have, the more potent it will be, but there's value to the stems and the leaves as well. So that is not quite filled enough. The more filled it is, the more potent it is. That'll be full enough to give me a nice kind of mild tincture. I'll go ahead and put a little bit more in. But you're getting the general idea. You want to pat it down. That's way too much sticks. Let's pull it out of there. Those are dead and dying. I don't want that in there. I'll make sure they all look good and not like there's evidence of any bugs been eating on them. You can pull those parts off. So I'm pushing it down so you can see it's going to take a while to fill out this jar. But we're over halfway full, which is an acceptable amount to make a tincture, and it will be potent enough. It would just be better if I filled it fuller. So you're going to use 2 parts of vodka or Everclear to 1 part water. Some folks mix this up separately and then pour it in. I'm going to go by the half cup just to make sure I have enough space in this jar. I go ahead and just pour it all in and shake it because you're going to shake it at the end anyway. So there's a ½ cup of Everclear. I've used all my vodka up in other tinctures recently and in home cleaning products. There's 2 half cups. So I'm going to put in 1/2 cup of water. And I'm sure I'm going to have some more room. Oh, that definitely has a strong smell. So I'm going to add another ½ cup of Everclear. Another ½ cup of water. I probably should have gone 1/4 cup on that. So if you're following along and trying to see what will fit in a pint mason jar, I would say 1/4 cup of Everclear vodka and 1/4 cup of water. I just split that up a little bit. So now I'm going to put a lid on it. And I'm going to shake it up. These lids here are all built in one. It's not a lid and a ring like a typical mason jar. I wouldn't want to can something in this. I'd be afraid it just was not going to give a good enough seal for a long shelf life for something to can. But I don't think my lid's whopper-jawed. But this will be fine for the number of weeks that it takes to have the tincture steep and pour it out into other jars. Get these screwed on here. I'm not even liking the way they fit. Okay, there we go. So now I have a firm fitting lid. Gives you an idea. It looks pretty. And if it didn't need to be in a cool, dark place, you could set it in your windowsill and it'll be a nice decoration for your kitchen. So now I'm going to shake everything up. Expect a little bit of bubbling, but that's okay. I imagine you could use homemade moonshine if you're in a survival situation and you have your own still making alcohol for, I'm sure, purely medicinal purposes, that you could use regular moonshine instead of Everclear. But I would cut down the 2-to-1 ratio because it's going to be a lot stronger proof. So now it's combined really well. It's going to float around for a bit till it completely settles. But I need to put this in a cool, dark place. And the number of weeks and the exact ratio and everything are indicated in the article. And I like to get mine out and shake it once a day. It's kind of like a little extra workout, getting all my tinctures and infusions out and do a nice shaky shake with them. And then once it's done, you'll take it out and shake it vigorously for about a minute and pour it through a fine strainer, keeping only the liquid. And then you have a natural treatment for gout, kidney stones. It's recommended typically by herbalists about 4 droppers a day for an adult with kidney stone or gout. And that'll help decrease the symptoms and help get rid of the uric acid and the swelling to go down or the kidney stone to break up and alleviate pain.